Hola viewers, this is Christian Villarreal, the Fortress of Dorkness, the nerdy nexus for all your geeky needs, and I'm here to bring you some L'Ordre de la reading. It's time to dive off the helicarrier, avoid the Stark boys, and take back liberty and freedom with capital interest. Get it? Capital? My jokes are hilarious. We're zooming in on the minuscule Marvel Comics event that you might have heard of. It's Civil War on reading orders. Global tensions grow in the fallout of events such as the Kree-Skrull War and House of M. The government decides to eat honey and ponder like Pooh Bear about how exactly to mandate to people with superhuman abilities. Enter the New Warriors, a group of young, brash, cocky heroes who attack a group of villains living in a suburban neighborhood for their reality show. Among these charlatans is the villain Nitro, a living bomb who detonates himself, killing one person? Oh, plus 599 more, including 60 school children. This prompts the government to push for the Superhero Registration Act, a bill that would force all powered individuals to reveal their secret identities and work directly for the government, supervised by S.H.I.E.L.D. This is something that the X-Men are consistently bombarded with, and they had to do it here again. Thanks, Fox. Those who resisted would be considered enemies of the state. John Voight could not be reached for comment. That's why. Thus were the shots fired that would become the event known as Civil War. The 7-part limited series was written and conceived by Mark Miller and illustrated by Stephen McNiven and ran from July of 2006 to January of 2007. On a totally unrelated yet completely relevant note, the Star Wars prequels were already over at this point and the world was safe until George decided to release the Blu-rays in 2011. The proposal of the Registration Act splits the powered community in two, one that appreciates sand and the other that thinks it's rough and coarse and
it gets everywhere.
Iron Man chooses to side with the US government and supportively pushes for the act to go through, while Capitan America opposes it, considering it an insult to the ideal of freedom. Two sides are formed, and hero is pitted against hero as Tony Stark's side begins hunting and imprisoning those he once fought alongside. This book is a metaphor for the growing concern of government surveillance in real life, such as the NSA. It asks, how far would you go? Tony, aided by Hank Pym and Reed Richards, begin to take an authoritarian stance, which begs the question that this story concludes with: what is the cost of freedom worth? Though one would think Captain America would be pro-registration, his character represents the ideal for fighting for a belief in freedom. So he becomes a rogue, but not like Rogue. She's an X-Men. They're neutral. Don't get confused. This might get a little confusing, but we assure you that she is an X-Men, not an American captain. Caught in the middle of this rinky-dink circus is old webhead himself, Spider-Man. Though initially siding with Tony, Peter is convinced to unmask himself on live TV, which just opens up a whole nother can of worms for the web-slinger's life. After the accidental death of a fellow superhero and friend, our wall-crawling underoos sporting post-pubescent begins to question his role in the war. Dat Iron Suit Dough.
I need it. Buy it, store it.
Peter's role in the story is that of the everyman, the point of view of the reader. The ripples of his unmasking are what ultimately led to the creation of the critically panned storyline, One More Day. When compared to other comic book stories involving the intervention of the government with heroes, Miller said, I opted instead for making the superhero dilemma something a little different. People thought they were dangerous, but they did not want a ban. What they wanted was superheroes paid by the federal government like cops and open to the same kind of scrutiny. It was the perfect solution, and nobody, as far as I'm aware, has done this before. I don't even know where to begin listing the characters who grace us with their presence in this one. The massive roster of characters was led by the already mentioned Captain America, Iron Man, and Spider-Man in lead roles. In addition, the Fantastic Four, Avengers of all ages, X-Men, S.H.I.E.L.D., Thunderbolts, Punisher, Daredevil, Hercules, Robo-Thor, a bunch of journalists and bystanders, Freedom, Hasselhoff Fury, Doctor Doom, the Illuminati, and Marvel's ultimate peeping Tom. Basically, everyone from the Marvel Universe appears in one form or another. Most surprisingly, Wonder Man actually survives this one, but he embezzles money as we mentioned before, so basically he just died legally. To go along with this tale, every single Marvel title on the market tied into the limited series for a total of 98 comics. That's just mostly bigger than Spike Lee's ego. Mostly. It all seems pretty heavy.
There's that word again, heavy.
Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
But lucky for you viewers, if you just wanted to read the Civil War story without the tie-ins, you can. The story still makes sense if you just choose to read the 7 issues you see on screen, not like that other story from that other company we did in that other episode. If you want a more expensive experience, you can use the guides being shown on screen to read the complete storyline in the most effective way. We'll let them run for a few seconds so you can take a gander at which issues to read around which of the 7 comics. You know, this reminds me of that one story about a bunny and a kitten who lived in a meadow and they decide to share that meadow with their cuddly animal friends, but the meadow is owned by a mean old farmer who hated everything, who decides to set a trap to capture all the furry animals by turning them against each other so he can make a giant snuggle blanket out of their hides, and the animals destroy each other's homes and burn the meadow to the ground, and it basically turns into Watership Down until they realize the farmer was behind it all. So they team up and assault his house in a covert operation one night and take the farmer out and lock him in the barn with his cohorts, and then they lived happily ever after in the forest, and every other Sunday they would hold a fight club and make the farmer fight all the larger animals to make him pay for his criminal ways until he was shot one day by a time-traveling bullet which brought his tale to an end. That's all, Namor fans! Civil War is one of Marvel's largest and most popular events, leading to many new directions for their long-standing characters. A sequel series called Civil War 2 debuted in 2016. Marvel would go on to loosely adapt the Civil War concept in the cinematic universe with Captain America Civil War, ironically also in 2016, almost 10 years after the original story was first published and 75 years after the character originally debuted. Coinky dink?
I think not!
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to stalk us on social media for more nerdy goodness and intangible snacky cakes. If you have any kind words or snotty remarks, leave them in Shield's suggestion box. This has been the Fortress of Dorkness. I'm Christian Villarreal, and always remember, never fear the dork up here.